It's International Men's Day, and the youth are taking over. I'm sure you're wondering what I'm doing here today as a lady on International Men's Day, but I'm here to learn just as much as you are. I'm Kimberly, the Assistant PRO of the Youth Arm. Joining me today, I have Charles, who is our Treasurer of the Youth Arm, Stephen, who is our Vice President of the Youth Arm, and of course, the PRO of the union itself, Anderson. So I don't want this to be a stiff conversation, guys. I just want to hear about your experiences and just have a little bit of talking, okay? So relax, enjoy yourselves, and let's discuss.
All right.
I think it's easy for us as men to relax, right?
Yeah, we should have some beers. We should have brought some beers.
Okay. Hopefully we could get some lucid answers.
Yeah. Easily.
Yes.
All right. So first off, what inspired you to join or advocate for a union? All of you here are part of the union in some way. What inspired you to join the team?
All right. Maybe I can go first. What inspired me to join the union? Well,
you've been with us the longest.
I think in our environment here in Antigua and our labor laws, once an organization establishment is unionized and then you come in as an employee of that establishment, you're sort of automatically a part of that bargaining unit. But then you have the option to actually become a member. So being within a bargaining unit is not necessarily the same thing as being a member. So now the question again, as you said, is what inspired me to join the union? Well, there are a couple of things. I know this particular union has a number of benefits. Yeah, if you're part of the union, you have free representation, right? Once you pay your monthly dues. So it's not really free, right? But it's just that there's no upfront cost if you have a situation, a grievance, whatever the case might be. So you avoid that upfront cost. So that was an incentive for me to join the union. But another bigger incentive, though, was the educational opportunities, right? So again, this particular union, the Antigua Barbuda Workers Union, puts on a lot of workshops, collaborating with other stakeholders, international affiliates as well, to really educate workers on their rights, educate workers on different issues that would have caused them or will facilitate their advancement within the workplace. So I gave you two reasons why I would have decided, and so many workers across Antigua have decided to be a part of this union. Again, the opportunities for education as well as the first one that I mentioned to you.
Awesome. What about you, Stephen?
It's not as sweet as Anderson's, but I think it's my love for people. Yeah, honestly, solving problems, being able to be a part of the solution rather than just being stuck in the problem itself. Definitely draw me. Yeah, you got to be solution based. And I think that just my outgoing personality as well, being able to help persons and see that you can actually make a difference, you know. You can help persons out of a situation that they may not even realize that they're in, you know, just because of lack, as Anderson said, lack of education. And it really helps to just get out there and be a part of that voice. So, yeah, that's all.
Charles, do you want to chime in?
I'm going to say curiosity. Because, you know, when I first, got around this setting in the union, I wasn't aware of all these problems that are actually happening in the workplace, you know? Like I'm hearing this from, like transportation and different sections, different sectors having different issues. I'm like, wow,
people actually undergo these things.
People actually going through a lot of stuff. So it was like curious. I wanted to, get to know more and, be a part of something to, as Stephen said, the solution.
Yeah.
So that is what motivated me.
Now, of course, we are the youth end of the union. I wanted to know if you guys find that we're getting enough engagements from the youth. As gentlemen, what do you find the men are doing, the youth, the young men?
I'll go with that one. I think they're not properly educated. I think that's a big issue that we have in our society today. We have a lot of issues that we can solve just by speaking to each other, especially young men. Young men are so focused on a lot of, and I'm not going to say negative things because there are a lot of positive things that we can highlight, but the education, the awareness, it's not there, and it can be I think foster it in a better light, and I think that's what we're trying to do as a youth arm, to kind of come forward and help younger men, especially men and women alike, get the help that they need, get the assistance that they need, but also to be informed. And I think that's what we're trying to do here at the youth arm. So.
Okay. Anderson, you've been here much longer than us. You're a part of the General Union. The idea to bring about a youth arm, what do you think inspired that?
To bring about a youth arm, well, we always have to think about succession planning, about the continuity and the future of an organization. So I think it's a very good idea to have a youth arm where young persons can be groomed to take over the leadership of the organization. In addition to that, you want to have an avenue to filter up ideas to the general leadership, the present day leadership of the organization. So I think those are two important roles that the youth.
So you think it would be easier to listen to us
exactly.
a little bit, you know, if you could hear it from us directly, which I like. But of course, I want to know what do you guys think our role is here? What do you think that you as a youth representative can do for the gentlemen, the young youths that are coming up?
I just think that us as young people, we can actually reach and, you know, interact more with the young people.
Bridge the gap.
You know, versus, you know, the older folks.
Oh, we gotta bridge the gap. There's a gap that needs to be bridged. Like, okay, at a certain point in your life, there's things that you actually need to be stepping into. Yeah. And as young persons, you obviously don't have that experience. There's I wouldn't say lack of maturity, but the lack of experience, knowing that there are a lot more there are a lot more responsibilities to your life than what is just given to you at the start of the day. You know, you have to kind of walk into different rooms and find opportunities that are going to actually help you better yourself. And I think as a youth, that's the gap that we're trying to fill. You know, getting out there, letting persons know, hey, it's kind of cool to join a union, you know, because like now you can ask for a pay raise without your boss looking at you like, you know, it's only fair. It's only fair that young persons,
that you can really take.
There are challenges that you will face as a young individual that you can. There's assistance for you, and we need to let persons know that hey, there is assistance, and we're here, and we're willing to help you get to that.
Okay. So back to you, Anderson. In your opinion, has there been a decline, you think, in youths joining?
What I've observed, though, is that I think there's a good balance of interest. The demographics would vary from workplace to workplace, and my indicators, let's say, would be a couple of things. There's anecdotal, and then there's also some hard statistics. And I can tell you that when I look at the breakdown of statistics, because we do have a database system, and that would show that the younger workers, I think that would be between 18 and 35.
Yes.
That's the second largest block, if I remember correctly, in our membership. 18 to 35 is the second largest block.
The woke society.
In
got a lot of work to do.
And I'd add to that, now from my observations, so from time to time when we have functions at the union, training activities, different events, and we invite members from across the landscape, the labor landscape in Antigua, I do see a good mix of younger persons. I dare not say older persons, I say those more advanced in age. Those who are more advanced in age. So I think there's a good mixture, but the younger folks are really pushing through, and I'm seeing some interest, a lot of interest, because I get a lot of inquiries online. So the social media, the Instagram, TikTok, so there are questions. There's a lot of feedback on different items that we put out. So I realize that there's a hunger, there's an appetite for the information, and a lot of that comes from our younger workers.
Retired.
Now, of course, the times have changed quite a bit. and the youths are now taking over. Okay, what do you think we can do to advance ourselves, to make our presence more known in this technological and economical era? What can we do? Because we're going to need to know what we're doing. So, gentlemen, what do you think? What can the youth arm really push to get done so that we're up to date technologically and economically?
We need to share more.
Share more.
The engagement is there. The platforms are there, as
Right.
a matter of fact. We just need to widen the base. You know, we need to get out there more often. Also, I think that it's very important that we work along with the schools. I think that's also important because you have persons transitioning into a different life. You know, you're coming from, you know, you're going to school on a daily basis, you're not having much responsibilities, much things to think about. But then you go into the working world. You leave from state college and it's completely different. Nobody prepares you for this. Nobody tells you, hey, this is actually what it is. You have to experience it for yourself. So definitely getting more engagement by going out, meeting the public, because you can't necessarily, you can, but you can't walk towards the unknown, right? So it's letting the presence be felt then. So as a youth arm, letting our presence be felt through our engagements, to our marketing skills, and letting the persons know that they can come to us. The union is here. You have persons that will see you on the street. I remember the other day I had on my union shirt and someone asked me a question and I was just like, yeah, this is really cool. You know, like the engagement is there. Persons are actually interested to know. So I think that's something that we could definitely do by just engaging a bit more.
Okay, so we're going to try our best to use the platforms a bit more.
Use the platforms, definitely.
I found it very interesting that you brought up schools because I find that even people who are still in school, especially depending on the type of environment they're in at home, they're actually working while even still in secondary school.
That's so true.
And it is important that we even reach out to them while they're still in school because at such a young age, employers would still try to take advantage of them.
That's true.
You know, paying them, you know,
Yes, because of their age.
because of their age and stuff. And at the same time, us as young men, we have to be the man of the house.
Definitely.
At such a young age.
I find that true. I find that true because you have so many young men now that I see actually trying to make a name for themselves. And you know, your employer can take that all away from you in the blink of an eye. You know, if you're not properly protected, if you don't know your rights. And so definitely I think that we could definitely go into that further, you know.
But just to be clear, we're not talking about child labor here, right?
No, not child labor.
Not child labor. About like a summer job or a little weekend.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of stuff,
Side
right?
job.
Yeah. Like I think that's permissible, I think, on the labor laws and that kind of stuff. We're not talking about
we're not
kids
talking
not
about
going to
child
school.
No child labor.
On another note, I just wanted to know, what stereotypes about men in the workplace do you think is most damaging? I know there's expectations really differ between what people think a woman's responsibility should be versus a man. Do you think there's any extremes that we really need to address?
Yes.
Yes.
You said
Talk to me.
responsibility. I think it's more of a reaction. Because now, when you think about responsibilities, everybody has their responsibilities in a workplace. They're the usual stereotypes, just as in a household. But when you think about the reactions that you will get from persons, men especially, who are not necessarily okay with what is being asked of them, the stereotype is that men we just go about our business, we just do what we have to do, we work hard and we just try to get it done. Sometimes some persons are not okay with what's carrying on, and I think that is right. That is, especially if it's not ethical and the person is refusing to do it, or they know their rights so that they are standing on their rights. The stereotype that they should just go about their day or continue doing what is being asked of them, I think is very wrong. And I see that at my own workplace, and I think that it's something that needs to be addressed honestly, because my reaction is going to be based off of what is being asked of me. And if I am not in agreement of what is being asked, I should reserve the right to not do, you know? And I think that more persons, there are definitely persons who have experiences like that, and I think that it's something that we need to work on.
So Stephen, just to make sure that I understand you correctly, So you're saying that, so generally the expectation of men is that we have this, just suck it up and keep going.
You take the lash and you go about your business, but no, that's
even
not right.
Even if you're being taken advantage of, or as a real man, you should, suck it up and just keep going.
No, that's not a real man. A real man is able
Exactly.
to speak out and let his voice be heard in a respectable manner. And I think that needs to be looked at a different light, because coming from a managerial standpoint, you got to be a leader. You're not going to ask of someone something that you don't want to do. So you're not going to put someone in an uncomfortable or a dangerous situation and then be offended, or you don't like their response, so then you do something. I think a lot of employers are a bit petty, and I think that it's something that's a big stereotype, that the workers are just there to work. No, they're human beings too. We're definitely men. We as men, we're human beings, and we need to be given that same grace that women afforded, because most of the times you don't see an employer asking a woman to do a lot of dangerous things, but then he would put a male employee in that position. And it's just like, but why would you do that if gender equality? We're trying to bring these topics forward. Gender equality is a big thing, and men fall under that same category too. We deserve that same amount of grace and love and compassion and understanding, So
I think all men need to understand that it's okay to speak up and to stand up for yourself, not because you're a man. That means that it's okay for you to put yourself in a dangerous or high risk situation.
Exactly.
It's okay as a man to speak up. No, I'm not comfortable with this.
Yeah, correct.
Granted that some of your colleagues might, as we say in the local colloquial language, grind you, right? Make fun of you, right? Say you're not a man's man, you're not masculine enough. But
that's
the
where
smart
the
thing,
exactly. Yeah, that's where the
stereotype. The smart thing really is to, hey, no, this is dangerous. This is dangerous.
I don't want to do this. No.
Yeah.
I find it easier said than done. When guys actually air their concerns and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling.
Then that brings a different level to the conversation, to be honest.
A guy is viewed as weak.
Exactly.
That brings a different level to the conversation. Some
guys feel like, hey, we gotta suck it up. You just feel like, hey. Because we don't want to be viewed that way.
Yeah, but Kimberly, what do you think?
Society is.
Do you think you see any stereotypes? So from your perspective, as being a lady, a woman in the workplace, do you have?
Oh, for sure. There's certain things that a lady is just not expected to do. If I have to, the box might not be heavy, but the mere fact that it's a box that looks like it should be heavy, first thing that's going to be said is, get one of the guys to do it.
Correct.
Might not necessarily be their job, or they don't even work in the same department, but it's expected that you should go and get a guy to do it, because whether he was hired for that or not, or even hired for your department, they're not going to expect.
But here's the interesting thing though, but at the same time, you'd get a pushback if an employer says, looking for a male to fill XYZ position. So the pushback these days is no, don't say looking for a male, just say looking for a person who can lift X amount of pounds or whatever, right? But at the same time, when they're in the actual working environment, they just assume certain things is for a man to do. Oh, go lift that thing there. Change the water on the water cooler. I mean, not that. It's not that we're pushing back and against to say we don't want to do it, but it's just that we should think about these things and how it feeds into stereotypes.
These questions would have also been asked to fellow males that you would have put out these questions to. Stephen did really well on polling.
Nice.
One of the responses on this question was regarding stereotypes, was regarding working in female-dominant jobs, and how they tend to feel like the world perceives them as a different sexual orientation just because they work in that job. Do you find that you've been hearing comments like that being made, or that's your general experience as well? Nurses, for instance, people expect it to be female.
I see that happening most definitely, where you look at someone in scrubs and you just say, okay, what he's doing in scrubs, why is he in scrubs? I think it's the same thing for most, we call them masseurs, The male is more so. It's kind of a delicate balance. I'm gonna say it's a very delicate
What
balance.
do you think that we can do about that, though?
Being more inclusive. I think inclusion and diversity is something that it's 2024. Let's get to the program. Like, come on, let's move past this. Like, we have men going into female-based or female-dominated career paths and careers. And you have the converse happening with women being able to transition over. And I think that we can do this. I think it's very easy to do. I see some persons, one of my fellow co-workers, she tries her best, and I think that she actually excels at what she does. I learned so much from her, and I work in a male-dominated workplace, and I think that it's possible. It's definitely possible, and I think we have to break the stigma.
So you, like I said before, we were discussing stereotypes, and you guys mentioned having to do jobs that are not particularly safe. What do you think that's doing for the mental health of the youth that are going in? Young boy straight out of high school, he's just getting his first work experience, and he's being expected to do obviously not the very safest jobs just because he's a man. Obviously that would have some kind of impact on the mental health. What do you think that we can do about that, or what has been your experience regarding that, mental health specifically?
You want to go, Charles?
Generally, for guys, the pressure is on.
It's always on.
It's always on. It's like a mental block that you gotta, well, let me not say you have to, but you kind of adapt to it and you create a mental block. I think for me personally, it's whatever. You know, you just create a mental block, and it's, here we go again. We should definitely call this breaking the stigma. Let's break the stigma. There's a stigma going around with men, and we need to stand up. Definitely. It's not just, oh, he's a young man, so he should be capable of this. Yes, he's a young man. He is capable of doing this, but let's do it correctly.
You know what I think would help too is if we men, not women, but if us men, we get together and talk about these things some more, and talk about them with younger men as well as older men. Because sometimes for men, young men, there isn't that sort of support network. So women seem to have this kind of support system down pat, right?
Yes, they do.
We'll talk.
They'll talk.
Do you guys talk? Like really talk?
Yeah, so we do talk, but I feel like it's
very
only
particular
on the surface as well too.
I think it's your circles. It has to do a lot with your circles, because me and my closer friends or closest friends, we talk about certain things, you know, we talk about these issues that are actually affecting us, but then do we actually go out and have these conversations with other men? No, we don't.
But let me ask you something. Stevie, you say, okay, you and your boys, we talk. So like there's a different level of talking. So do you get vulnerable then? Do you talk to that level?
Definitely.
I think I do personally,
because there are a lot of guys that actually, like, if they're talking to me about something, they come like hypothetically, you know, what if this situation happens? What do you do or whatever? They don't put themselves in that position.
Exactly.
That kind of stuff. So I find that vulnerability is
so we have these clever ways of trying to get around it, but like, do we really, you know, get vulnerable with each other? Hey, look, this is what I'm going through.
On a group
this
scale,
is how I feel about
vulnerability as well is what society views as weak.
There's weakness.
Correct.
Exactly. And you know, especially amongst our fellow guys. You know, we want to be, you know, we don't want to be weak around our guys.
Yes, correct.
So we kind of try to, you know, keep that image.
Have you ever cried around any of your friends before?
No.
No, I've never cried either. I've never cried. I've never cried in front of any of my friends, and I think that's
any reason.
Ladies, we know we be balling.
No.
Wailing.
Never once did that.
I mean,
just listening to your response to that question. That
how are
seems
you guys expressing yourself then? How are you letting off the steam, the energy? You
Apart
had
from
a
the
very
gym?
long work day. Okay, the gym.
It's just the gym. Bro.
it's just a gym.
Just the gym.
It's just the gym. Like,
Just the
Just
gym.
the gym.
like after that good workout, you're like, Yeah, I feel relieved, man.
Do we as men, so this is a question for both of you guys, do we as men, do we create talk spaces? So we're talking about being vulnerable, we're talking about being able to speak about certain topics, but are we being vulnerable enough to each other to create that space? If you understand what I'm saying. Because then you might have something that's going on. I might not be able to tell you exactly what's happening, but I can see, because at least we're friends, we're around the same circles, and I can tell, hey, Charles is not his usual self today. You know, or Anderson is not his usual self today. Am I creating that space for you to be vulnerable to me, to open up, to have that conversation? I think we as men, we look at things like that?
That's powerful. That's powerful. So we don't even get that opportunity, you're saying sometimes.
No, because we're quite selective. I find myself to be quite selective with the conversations that I'm having. And it's then, I'm not allowing this person to have this conversation with me myself, because that is the block that I would have created. So are we as young men going forward now, we're bringing this up for discussion, are we creating talk spaces within ourselves, amongst our circles, amongst our peers? And it doesn't necessarily have to be our peers, but do we have a support? Do we have support from each other? Do we have each other's support is the question.
I think we have a block from both ways, to be honest, because even if, let's say, you know, we're bros and well, you want to create that space for me, right, to open up and stuff. But we have this culture as guys that we don't ask for help, or we don't, you know. You know what I'm saying? So when even though you open up and give that space, I'm like, you know, I'm fine. Even though I'm fine, bro.
You know, life is life, but we know is the regular we rise, you know, and everything at its finest. That's how it is sometimes.
And this level of masculinity, I assume, would be a little bit different depending on what field you're in, okay? Some fields, maybe doctors are considered to be mostly men. It's a very high-stress job, you know? I'm just wondering if that's something that maybe we can work on, creating, if not a space where you want to talk to your friends, maybe you don't want to stress them out. Are we going to be looking at something like that for persons in those fields to be able to talk to us? Maybe it's just work related, maybe they just want to vent. What do you guys think of doing something like that?
Oh, definitely, I'm open to the conversation. I'm open to the conversation, especially, this is based off of mental health, really. And I think that we as men, young men especially, we need to talk more about our mental health and our mental aptitude, because you know what, it's a roller coaster ride through life, and we need to have that opportunity. It's important that we have those opportunities available to us. So I'm open to that conversation. I'm sure Anderson, what you say?
Yeah, I'm open to it, and I think maybe we can even, going forward, like make some commitments. It might be as small as,
I would love for you guys to
just
take up that
reaching
challenge.
out to other male colleagues.
Male
Just a text, how you doing, everything is fine. Like, we should make some maybe that's where we could start going forward, make some commitments to creating these spaces and opportunities where we could share and reflect on our experiences as men, because I mean, quite frankly, perhaps apart from when there's International Men's Day and we facilitate discussions like these, like, we don't have a space, we don't create an opportunity.
We need to create a casual setting where we can now come together and just, as I said, we just have a few beers, you know, we have conversation, we can be forward thinking, you know, have the opportunity to just be ourselves, be true to ourselves, and just talk. You know, it opens up different avenues, because you may be going through something that I may find, and I find that a lot with my friends too, is that we may not say it outright, but then the similarities in the situations are quite similar. We're all men, you know, we're gonna face somewhat of the same experiences, and having that door, having that opportunity, having that space is definitely gonna be a positive thing going forward.
You know, I used to think that the barbershop was kind of that space, but then, you know, I think the barbershop conversations are very surface, very entertain.
Yeah, you talk about the game that's literally showing right there.
Yeah.
It's not really anything on the deep level.
Correct.
So
It's not deep.
I am a little curious about something. Gender conversations have been the rise over the last few years. Do you think that's contributing to why you might not feel as comfortable voicing some of your concerns or talking to each other? I mean, the ladies, we already know the problems that, not all, but they've been very vocal about saying what problems they're facing, but we're not finding that a lot of men are saying much these days. And we know they tend to be perceived as, the word that they tend to use is misogynistic.
Yeah.
It might not apply to all situations, but it is a word that is commonly used. And in my personal opinion, I've seen the guys speak less just because of that, because they don't want to be perceived as that.
Okay, yes.
Do you think that's the same situation happening here, or it's a mixture of some other things as well?
I think some of it may be at play given our culture and
culture.
Very important word there. I think, the minute you said culture, just like, that is exactly what I'm thinking. It's a culture.
Yeah. So that does come into play, but as we're moving forward, right, we need to be more open-minded, more educated, and I think Stephen used the word earlier, be more inclusive as well, and that will help us to broaden our understanding, right? And if we broaden our understanding, it creates, more opportunities for us to share and express ourselves without different forms of judgment, because I think that's what many people are afraid of, being judged.
Judgment.
Yeah, we have to normalize it. Once you normalize it, the judgment will go away, and we will feel more comfortable, because we can start today, and then we try to reach out, and the other guys like, that feels very uncomfortable. It's not normal for.
So you just said that a while ago. I've never heard a guy say to me, "This kind of feels uncomfortable." It's just like, what are you talking about, bro? But definitely,
we have to work on this. We have to work on
definitely,
this.
because it's just like, how often do you hear your bro tell you, "Yo, I went through this and I felt kind of uncomfortable, and boy, I don't know." He more complains to you about the things, but he doesn't really break down the level that he's actually feeling it on. And sometimes we may just say things without realizing the impact it actually has on us. And the culture, I think, is it's a mindset, because we can break free. You could be different. We can be different. And it's best to be that way, you uniquely individual, individually unique, and breaking down that culture to a different level where now we can have a wider array of emotions that we can now put forward, or we can express ourselves better, and that's the thing. Do we have a problem with expression?
Again,
yes.
Do we have a problem with expression?
We try to be.
Stephen is asking the hard
try to be
question.
very tough.
Yeah.
We try to be very tough. And even like when you're just talking about somebody say, "Oh, I feel uncomfortable," the way your tone. Your tone, right? A lot of guys don't bring that tone.
Yeah.
It's like, "Yo, I feel very uncomfortable with this now." You understand? We try to. We actually feel a kind of way, but when we express ourselves, we try to look tough.
Yeah, there's a facade going on when we're expressing ourselves, because you want to express yourself, but you don't want your expression to be taken in a specific manner that is going to look that you're weak.
Yeah.
Of course.
And that's the stigma right there.
So like, it's almost like we're conditioned.
Yeah,
right?
we're in
so
that box.
The ideal man has a certain range of expressions that he operates in, and if you go out of that range of expression, then you can be perceived as something else that may not be as desirable, right, as you would like to be perceived.
And that's why you got to be true to yourself.
Yeah.
As a man, you got to be really true to yourself. You got to be intentional, because like, what is your purpose? Why are you doing this? Why are you feeling this way? You're not supposed to feel. You're going to feel uncomfortable in life, but that uncomfortability should not extend past where you're now unable to express yourself, or where it's no, I've entered into this phase of walking away. You know, a man would more so, before he says that he's uncomfortable, he's gonna fix up his face, he might cuss a little bit, and then he just walks away and he just leaves it there. But then the emotions still exist. You still feel this way about it. Are we not gonna address that underlying issue?
Right.
You know?
I think it's that mental health that really goes back to mental health, and that's why some people, and a lot of them, like, and even in crime and stuff, you know, we just have these outbursts and we don't know where it comes from, because we always have that build up. We keep silent, we just keep it in, and then all of a sudden, like, hey, where's this coming from?
True.
You know, the family unit is really important for keeping us grounded. Do you find that you're able to balance your work and family life?
I think we just have to be more intentional about it, because if we can sacrifice ourselves in our work, then we should be able to try and do the same for our personal life.
Why are we sacrificing now?
We sacrifice a lot of our time.
We do.
That's true. Like we have to try and be more creative and say, you know.
But are we? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
But are we creating absentee fathers that way by sacrificing so much into our work and neglecting our families?
Sometimes it's expected more for the guys to go out and work, not considering that they need to be able to wind down and see their family as well. But most persons are only seeing it as you need to bring the money.
Correct. As a breadwinner, you know. But as a breadwinner, are you just making financial gain in your family, or are you supporting your family emotionally? You know, are you there? And it's not just as a father. You know, I would have said father, but it's also as a man, a young man in a household. It could be that you're the only man in the household. It could be that you're one of many in the household. But you still bring a dynamic, you know. There's the fun cousin, you know. There's someone that there's always a male. I'm pretty sure there's a male in your family that you can say, hey, if I needed to get such and such done, I can go to him. Same for you. If I need to get such and such done, I know that this is someone that I can depend on. You know, and that's because of the dynamic that they bring to the family. And are we now sacrificing those dynamics to give to our work? You know?
You see, it's a very delicate balance, right? In terms of being there to provide the emotional support to your family, as well as being able to provide the financial support. Because the financial support is incredibly important. I'm not saying that the emotional support coming from the man isn't. It's probably as equally important, but again, maybe society really puts, you know, more emphasis on being able to provide, those financial resources. Definitely. Even looking back historically, you see that the pressure and the main focus of the finances has been on the man's part. Now economic structures are changing, and you have more two-income households, right? So there's supposed to be a little relief there, but still, maybe we're still programmed that way, that we have to grind hard to provide those financial resources. I think there's even a scripture in the Bible that says something to the effect like, if a man doesn't provide for his household, he's worse than an infidel or something. I mean, that really underscores like the heavy weight and pressure that is on a man's shoulder, or that men feel is on their shoulder, to provide the resources, and if I have any energy left, I'll help provide the emotional and otherwise support.
And I would assume that maybe because of this is why we're not seeing as many persons really take on the benefit of paternity leave, which is something that we've brought into light.
I think it's not about taking on the benefit, but I think that culture itself is
non-existent.
The employers, because of that culture, the employers are like, hey, you don't need this much time. Because you should be here.
Trying to make sure you can feed.
Trying to make sure you feed. You know, that culture is like, hey, you don't need to be out. You need to be here. You know? So that
is so true. That is so true.
Until we switch to paternity leave, though, I think that where we on paternity leave, because it's, as you said, it's a culture, and I think it's non-existent. How many days is paternity leave, Anderson?
So right now, so I think as early as 2013, don't quote me on this, but I think a general range, right? So our union, Antigua Workers Union, began writing these paternity leave clause into different union contracts with the workplaces. So most of it is like around 3 to 5 days.
3 to 5 days.
There's one workplace that I know that has the most, and that is 10 days. I think it may be the Board of Education, right? So now I know that our union officers are working really hard right now, trying to close some contracts at around 7 days. They're not able to quite get it up to 10. They're trying. But yeah, so, but ultimately
we have to start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere.
True.
It's interesting you asked that question, because just today I was having a conversation with a union officer, and he was explaining the struggle he's having and his strategy going forward. Okay, I'm going to try to get to 7, and then the next negotiation, I'm going to try to get another couple more days on there, right? So now I'm going to try, once we get to 10, that means that we're at 2 weeks. The father can have 2 weeks home. And then if eventually in the next couple of years, they can get another 10. So he was really kind of outlining, and that shows, you know, the deep passion and drive behind our union officers here. Really incredible people here, working extremely hard.
So we'll be working on paternity leave for the next few months. I definitely think it's something that we should attempt to do as the youth, because it's now, as a young man, looking forward to the future. I'm not spending just 10 days with my child. That doesn't make...
And you're starting at the high end there.
Yeah, most of the teams
10 days is 2 weeks, all right? It's typically, that's a typical 2-week working period, right? And you're trying to tell me I get just as much or more sick days than to actually be with my child. No, it's unacceptable.
So again, it's a mindset change, a culture change.
But how do you find that the other men that you work with are perceiving paternity leave? Because we are going to obviously fight as best as we can, but if we're not getting the support, it makes it a bit harder. So you guys were speaking about balancing finances with something like the benefits of paternity leave. Do you find that the men in your circle are in favor of it going that high? Because you are talking about maybe not making as much money for that short time frame if you're taking on that benefit, especially if you're working in something that may be commissions based or... Yes.
That has to do a lot.
What are your friends saying? What are the people around you saying? Because we need their voices to help us fight.
So let's create engagement. Let's get some more persons, some more voices on this. I think we could definitely have another episode on the podcast where we talk about paternity leave and issues amongst the same.
So from my experience, the men that I've spoken with rather, I see a deep passion for family, for their children, for them wanting to be a support to their partner at a very critical stage, having just given birth. So I see that at least the men that I've spoken to see tremendous value in being able to take advantage of something like a paternity leave benefit. Now, of course, there are men who, you know, may take paternity leave and go and get another hustle out there and make some money. Not encouraging anybody to do that. Not encouraging anybody to do that. But look, the people have different priorities and people see things different ways. And I'm sure there's some men that will do that. But again, a lot of the men that I've spoken to, like they're deeply committed and passionate about family, passionate about their children and giving them the best opportunities and support that they can give them.
That's beautiful to hear. That's really good. So we've been talking quite a bit.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any last final thoughts to share with us on this International Men's Day? Is there anybody that you're looking up to that you want to make mention of? You got to have somebody to look up to.
I think my dad, personally, for me, my dad. Our relationship isn't the best, But I think that my dad definitely taught me the things that I needed to know as a young man, transitioning into adulthood and going into being a man of my own, a man of myself. Because you know what, a lot of things that you got to prioritize in life, and he taught me the importance of making those priorities stick. Because you could care about something, you know, you could be motivated to do something, but it all works on consistency. And he really drilled it into me that you got to be consistent with your actions, you know. So definitely my dad. So, and I think that we need to give more love to the fathers that are out there, you know. And so definitely shout out to Dad.
What about you, Charles?
I would say the same with my dad, because he's just been an example to me in terms of, you know, how you should be when it comes to supporting your family financially.
Yeah.
And even the emotional aspect of it, because there's sometimes where I be going through things and my dad would notice, you know, he's like, hey, I'm helping all these people and working and doing this and that, come and step into my office because, you know, it doesn't make sense. I'm making these sacrifices for these people. I'm not here for my family. So that is something that I really respect from my dad.
Good to see the dad stepping up, to be honest.
All right, Anderson.
Well, there's a proverb that says a threefold cord cannot be broken, so I guess I'll be the third to to say I think my dad has also been an incredible inspiration and role model, not just by what he says, but how he live or how he continues to live his life. So there's a consistency between the things that he believes and the things that he encourages me to do and what he actually does for himself. So I think what I really see underscored in his life is living by principle. Yeah, and I think once you decide to live your life that way, you have certain principles. It's much more difficult for you to waver and, you know, flow with every woman's fancy. So I think that's something that I have adopted into my life. Kind of set certain principles that you're going to live by and stick to that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, happy to hear it. All the men have their fathers to inspire them, but you guys have been an inspiration to me. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I
Thank you for
appreciate
hosting.
the discussion. I've learned a lot.
Definitely.
I just want to tell everybody out there to keep following the page, and you can find the Youth Arm on their own page. That's the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Youth Arm. And hopefully we see you on the next one.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.